All right, we are live. All right, you guys already know what it is. It's your boy Don. We are back again with another episode. Make sure you guys go follow the Instagram as well as the TikTok. I'm also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you can watch podcasts. I'm available. Make sure. Also, if you're also like new to the fitness space and you're trying to get in shape, you're looking to get in the gym and stuff and make those gains. Make sure you join my online community. That's new. It's in link in description. You'll be able to find that there. And we just have like weekly calls and stuff, and you can work with me personally so we can reach your fitness goals. But let's not waste any more time. We got a special episode today, and I'm gonna introduce the guest. I'm here with.
Icy, I guess, or just create Icy is probably the best way to say who I am.
Mhm.
My name's actually Justice, so it's a
Okay.
pretty cool name. And yeah, I go online by Icy.
Mhm.
I've actually been telling some new friends like just call me
Mhm.
Icy. It's a lot easier.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes me a little more interesting. Has some cool stuff for it.
Has a
So
nice ring to it, like icy, like I'm icy, like
oh
yeah.
yeah, I think actually one of the guys recently like said like you got to get big and swole and we'll call you like Dibs Icy or something. I can't remember, but
Dipset.
like it was definitely something kind of funny. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, give me a nickname. I need some more nicknames.
Uh-huh. Definitely, for sure. Um, tell us basically for people who don't know who you are,
Yeah.
like tell them who you are and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, a little bit about who I am. Well, I actually just had turned 25 yesterday, which is pretty
Oh, happy
fun.
birthday, bro!
Yeah, thank you. So I've been a content creator for a little bit of over like 10 years, like trying actually more of an editor. So I've been trying to do a lot of different industries and I've been trying to make money online. And there's just so many different aspects that I've been currently working on. I was running a community called Shapers University for a YouTuber named Johnny Chaplin.
Mhm.
And currently, I now work at a gym called Aesthetics Nation Gym. I'm one of the membership specialists. I help you sign up at the
Mhm.
end of the day, which is a local gym in the West Kelowna area. Some people might know this gym actually because it's got a decent online presence. It's run by two really cool people. I haven't gotten to like spend too much time talking to, but big fitness coaches actually. They do a lot of like business coaching for fitness influencers and personal trainers, so they can make do businesses online, and then they own their own their gym. So super cool stuff. We're bringing in a lot of really cool new additions to the gym, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, um, well, what else do you think you need to know about me? What else? There's so many things. I have like a decade's worth of experience in editing.
Right.
Um, and like, yeah, there's lots to it.
Oh yeah. Um. Yeah. That's all good stuff. I want to get into like I'm gonna jump into like the content creation stuff, and then we'll jump into like more like the fitness stuff.
Yeah.
What got you into like because I know you did like film stuff and all that. Like, what got you
Yeah.
like what started like because I believe it started with just like video editing, and then you got into film. That
Yeah. Yeah, so what I did when I first started getting into content creation, I was like 13 or 14. I used to play a lot of like Call of Duty and like I was really into video games when I was a teenager. And I kind of recently been playing a little bit more lately
yeah.
give some a competitive edge, get me to be in a competitive spirit, which is great.
Hmm.
But the biggest thing that I wanted to do was I just fell in love with like the idea of video editing. So I started like making YouTube when I was like 13, 14, making like silly little like vlogs where I would like go out and like record just outside my house, and I just made like a bunch of videos. Like I never blew up or anything. I never like found something that really allowed me to stick.
Right.
But I like was super into like I was trying to follow like Call of Duty news, so like I tried to do stuff like that. So I tried to do like gameplay content,
Hmm.
commentaries, you name it, kind of anything to do with like the gaming niche, like that was what I was trying to do. I was just trying to like get big on that. Um, and then through I wasn't ever really good at the game and I wasn't very entertaining either.
Okay.
Like who I was when I was trying to make that content was just not an entertaining individual. In a lot of cases, like it's very like I go back and watch it and it's like there's nothing to really like that really entertained people.
Right.
But I really liked video editing and content creation and creating things. So like while I was in high school, I was like learning about film and animation. I was really interested in like making video games. So that's like where I really wanted to go into.
Mhm.
So I wanted to that's kind of how like content creation really kind of has been like this overall like circle or like pool of just like I did this, I did that, this.
Right.
And like I just went for it. Like I think the most I ever had was about 157 subscribers, which was actually kind of cool at the time.
Okay.
But like again, like I just wasn't making a lot of content. I was doing a lot of collaborations though. Like I was constantly like trying to, talk to other content creators, mostly actually my friends too. Like I just do like random, like I'd pull out my phone, go
Mhm.
outside my house. I'm like, oh, today we're doing a shout out video. And I was like in these communities and basically just did that was all my content would be sometimes would just shout out videos to another individual.
Yeah.
But like it's not like I was doing like we were like popular or anything. We didn't really have a followings, but like that was just like, oh, I see other YouTubers doing this. Why not me?
Yeah.
So like not really having the following at the time and still not really having a following in all honesty. But like it was still like a good learning experience of like actually making content. And then when I graduated high school, I went into the film industry and actually learned how to make movies. I went to film school, spent
Okay.
time making films, like the entire like it was a 10-month program that I did. And it like I came out of it have made like 8 different projects, I think, maybe a little more. And that was from everything from I made a documentary, I made like a biography, like self-biography video, I made like 3 different short films, and not even including all the short films I worked on with my classmates. So like I spent a lot of time like making like movies. So and then ended up getting into working into the film industry, and I started off as a production assistant, did it for a year, hated every minute of it.
Why?
um I because it was just not what I wanted to do in the film industry. So working in the film industry is a very grueling job if you're not used to it. As a production assistant, I was doing 15 hours a day daily, and most of what I did was move tents, chairs, or just stood around for hours on end, repeating what I heard on a radio. Not like exact word for word, but like there were like key words that I had to. As the idea was to tell the rest of the crew that we were either the cameras were rolling, that we needed to be quiet, or we were preparing for something. Like it was just everyone knew what was going on, and that was my job, was to kind of be an echo essentially
Right.
for the whole production.
But I'm
And
assuming you want to be more hands-on with like the film.
yeah, that's why I really didn't like it all that much, because a lot of it was just I was told stand here, and then 5 hours later, I'd be told, okay, maybe we'll go stand over here now, or there'd be the occasional, hey, we need you to come on set, we need to move some stuff around. So like specifically, it was called locations production assistant. So like my job was to know where everything was on the location, but also stand in a spot and be almost like a guide that doesn't move. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like, it's such a weird like industry to kind of get into. It's normally like that's the starting role you work in most cases, and depending on where in the like which like where you're doing the job, like I know it's different in like places like in the United States, it's a lot different than in Canada.
Mhm.
Because like PAs are a little different in just how they actually work. They actually are more very hands-on doing all like sorts of different jobs, where this was like a very specific role of a specific thing. And
Mhm.
and I just wasn't a fan, in all honesty. It was just not my thing. What I was really interested in was like lighting and grip, the grip department, so which is also manipulating lighting. So that was like I saw like that those were the guys. I was like, wow, I'd see them on set and I'm like, that's cool, that's what I want to do, I want to go into that.
Mhm.
And I eventually got into it. So after that year, I was like working my way to like get all the
Mhm.
certifications I needed to apply for the union, and I got in and started working as a lighting technician and as a grip. So I got to work on I worked on the Snake Eyes movie, the GI Joe Snake Eyes movie,
Oh, nice.
and for the first for the first like 3 days of our shoot, I was upgraded as a dolly grip. So I'd never worked on a big movie before. I used a dolly, not really, but kind of. And basically my job was just to take the camera away from the third camera operator. And that was basically what I did and I did one push throughout that entire 3 days. So, and that push never made it in the movie. But like, there are things that I was like, oh, cool, this is really interesting. I
Did
had
you
a
get to
lot of
meet actors
fun.
and stuff too?
A little bit, like with it's so weird. Like you can, there's almost like a stigma. Like when I first started as a production assistant, you're basically told do not talk to actors unless they talk to you. So you're not like going up there and starting a conversation. Like, and I think it actually really kind of messed me up too, because like I just never felt comfortable to go up to talk to people because here's like just a normal person who's an actor, and I'm being told don't go and talk to these people.
Why though?
Uh,
What's like?
well, part of it is one of the reasons was if they're with actors, like they're either trying to run lines in their heads, who knows what's going on and what they're doing, because they're even though the camera's not rolling, they're working in some way. That was what I was being told. That was the reason why.
Okay.
And like it's understandable, but at the same time, I was like, so like we can't treat people like people. Like that's
Yeah,
how it felt like.
because I see all these behind the scenes videos of like actors, and it looks like they're just. From what I see from these behind the scenes videos, it looks like they're just goofing around anyway.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm
So
not.
they're more likely to goof off with the rest of the cast, but not. It depends, and again, it depends on the situation, and it depends
Yeah,
on like what department and what role you have.
yeah.
Like that's the weirdest part is like when I was a production assistant, I was so low on the totem pole. It's like I rarely had any conversations with uh actors. So like I first started doing Hallmarks, and then I got into like the bigger production shows and stuff like that. So like I just got used to just talking to the people within my department, not even the people outside of my department. So like the only people I interacted with most of the time were the people I worked with, and not the people who also worked on the productions. It got to a certain point where I had to interact with different ones, and like most of them had to come to me to ask questions of like, oh, where's the bathroom? Where's this? Where is set? Like, where are we shooting today? Like, those are like the types of questions I had to do but as a lighting technician, it was a little different because it's like, okay, I know where things are, but I'm now asking those people where these things are,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also like learning other parts. And it's a very interesting industry. Like I, it's very fun. There's a lot of really cool aspects. Like as a lighting technician, that's where I really got to have a lot of fun. Because like I got to work on a Bruce Willis movie before he before he retired, and literally I did an explosion gag behind him. So like classic Bruce Willis explosions happening behind him as he's walking down a hallway with a shotgun. Like, that's the most cliche thing you can find with with him.
Mhm.
So like that's kind of a cool thing to be able to say. Like Snake Eyes was super cool because like I did have a conversation with Henry Golding, but not really. It was kind of like a pass by sort
Yeah.
of thing. Like basically we were having like this thing we called hot snack, and we were having hot dogs and smokies. And here I am just at the table prepping my hot dog or smoky. I think it was a smoky. And he comes up asking, what's the difference between hot dogs and smokies? And I'm like, I have no idea, and walked away. Like, just like that was just kind of what I did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But like at the time, I wasn't like super confident within myself too. So like there was a lot of smaller areas where like maybe if I stuck around and maybe made it a conversation a bit more, like it would have been a little different. But that just wasn't me at the time. But like it was very interesting. I got to work on the Percy Jackson show that recently came out. I was actually a full-time, like practically full-time rigging lighting technician, and I did a lot of the sets. So like I was going through and watching the show, and I was like, yep, I built that set, I helped build that set, I helped build that. Oh, I remember this, I remember that. oh, this is really cool that it turned out like this.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of interesting parts of that. And then yeah, it was a lot of fun. I also like there's a lot of smaller shows. Like I worked on Charmed. I worked on the Blockbuster show that Netflix did. And like most of all the nighttime lighting outside the Blockbuster in that show like was me. Like I was literally above actors a lot and couldn't help myself from laughing and hearing the jokes. And I'm literally above them sitting in this lift with this light just blaring off like above them. And like my job is to not make a noise because then they have to remove that in post-production. Or I can screw the actors up because I'm making noise above them. So very difficult sometimes, especially when you're doing a comedy.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there's a lot of really interesting things you get to do in the film industry. And then, recently there was a big strike that kind of happened. There's a writers and actors strike last year. It
Oh,
just
so this was
destroyed.
recent when you were
Yeah,
doing all this.
yeah.
Oh wow,
Like
wow,
I only got out of the film industry a year ago. Like I just stopped
wow.
practically. Like last year January was like I had one of my last shifts on a film set. And that was just like we were hearing the rumors of like the writers might go on strike. Like so we were like, okay, this is getting serious. And then yeah, it just hit, and all of a sudden like there's nothing, nothing being made. Like I was getting regular updates, not for the writer's strike, but so every week we got told like what productions were getting ready to go, what's coming into town, what's happening. And so we knew like what's coming. And then all of a sudden that list got smaller and smaller and smaller. And basically, no, yeah, there's nothing coming in because of the strike. Like they couldn't start productions. And like there was one show I was really hoping to get on, but they never ended up filming there, was the third Deadpool movie that'll be coming out.
Oh, bro, that's
Yeah.
I think now they're started on it though, like the Deadpool
They're
versus
yeah,
Wolverine.
they're already done filming.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they finished filming like months ago actually.
Oh shit. And you
Yeah,
were gonna work on that
I
film.
was trying to. I would have tried to get onto it. Like
Or
that I
Steve.
was getting like yeah, I was finally getting contacts for that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
which was super cool. And I really liked like it. Like there's some really cool stuff. Like I got to do a lot of interesting like working on Percy Jackson was super cool. Like that's a big show. Like not a lot of people. There's not a lot of big shows. I also got to do a day on Avatar and the Last Airbender for
Oh, the new
Netflix.
one that came out.
Yeah, yeah, the new one that just came out. I did a day, and it was kind of funny. I I watched a previs, and then I watched it in the show, and I was like, hey, I remember seeing that
Yeah,
as a previs. But I like there was also parts like we were doing reshoots, so like it was like, oh, like it was just so cool to see like all of this coming together. So
yeah.
yeah, and then yeah, last year like the strike, and I was like, damn, I'm getting out. I this isn't for me anymore. I was making a lot of like while I was working in the film industry, I was still making projects of my own on the side a little
Okay.
bit. So one of my roommates I had, we made almost a new short film. It felt like we were doing one every month at one point. So like I was working with this guy and we made short films like regularly. Like I was part of his crew for a ton of his short films. Like I go back and watch them and I'm like, oh boy, like but those were very interesting and different times. And all of this I was doing for free too. A lot of these like small projects I was doing like volunteer and just for fun, and like trying different roles within the industry as well. So it wasn't just the lighting. So I was like doing a lot of like camera work, and I wanted to be a director of photography. Like that was where I was seeing myself go within the film industry. Is so I learned that's why I was working in the lighting department, because I was so interested in lights and how it like looks on camera. And I know like right now I look at this my screen for like recording podcasts. It's like it's not as nice as I would like it, but I'm like, you know what? It's better than uh any like other things when I like at least I have a decent camera that can, make it look all right.
Yeah. So do you in the film industry, was the like pay like decent? Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I like the film industry, like there's good like when I was working in the union, it's a good hourly wage. Like I was living decently. Like the problem is like if you're not working full time on a full time crew, so like with the film industry, it's a very much there's day players and then there's like full time like workers. And a lot of what I was doing was I was mostly a day player. So I would show up I would be jumping from show to show. So like one day I could be working on Charmed, and then the next day I could be working on Blockbuster, and then the day after that I could be working on uh The Last of Us. Even though The
wow.
Last of Us, well, I wasn't there for The Last of Us, but like those were just like I could just be jumping different shows
Mhm.
just within a week. So like it's that sort of stuff. So it took me a while to finally get onto an actual crew where I was working 5 days a week regularly on the same crew.
Mhm.
So sometimes I could be working 3 weeks in a row, and then the next week I don't work at all. And then, or I could be working like 3 months in a row, and then I'd be off for 2 months.
Mhm.
Not by choice, just basically that was the film industry. Like it just wasn't busy enough. There wasn't enough projects going on. There wasn't enough work. So like I was able to like live off it, but there was just a lot of time where you're like, I'm not working. I'm not working. And
Mhm.
you so there wasn't that consistency. And it takes time. Like some people, like depending on who they are, when they're get into the industry, like they can get onto a crew and they're working full time the entire year. And then there's like for me, I was very shy. I had to like push myself a lot to get out of my own comfort zone. To of course, like at the end of the day, you have to get the person, your bosses, to like you to bring you back the next day, type thing.
Mhm.
There's a lot of like you come in and show up for your first day. If you don't make a good enough impression that first day, sometimes they don't bring you back the next day.
Yeah.
So like it's just it was competitive, but I never looked at it from a competitive standpoint. I never built like relationships too easily when I was working it. And I again, there's a lot of things I just didn't know at the time. I was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. It's in the industry and trying to like be a good employee. So there's just a ton of different aspects of it. That's very, it's a big learning curve. It was a big learning curve for me. Uh,
Mhm.
and like when I was working on Percy Jackson, it took me like, yeah, about the whole 4 years of me working in the industry, getting my union membership. Then I got onto that crew full time. Like it was just like a very long process before I actually got full time.
Mm. Okay. So like, how did you jump into like the transition from? So you like, because you made the jump from like the film industry to like just doing like content creation, podcast stuff. Like, what
Yeah.
was so from what you're telling me? Like, I assume like in the film industry, you weren't in the role that you wanted. So like,
Mhm.
how did the pivot start to like doing like content creation from? Like, what made you just be like, I don't want to do film. I just want to go into like podcast.
And content creation. Yeah.
Yeah.
A big part of it was like I first started just looking at it from a standpoint. I'm like, this doesn't like I'm working so hard, but I don't have a life. Like it was just my life was film. Everything and everyone around me was film related. If I go like all my friends, all my roommates I had, like everything to do with my life had to do with film. And I just felt at that point I was just like, okay, what is like this can't be it. This can't be all my life is.
Mhm.
I really like most again that work my I didn't really have a work life balance. It was my work life balance is this is work is my life.
Mhm.
And I just was just on a constant grind in the film industry, and it just started like deteriorating me and pulling me down. And I just one day just started realizing and just questioning like why am I doing this, why am I working this hard and not getting to do any of the things I wanted to do. Like I really wanted to travel, but half the time I was worried about, okay, well, what happens when the film industry drops? What happens if I'm not working for 3 months? How do I keep myself funded and being able to keep up with it? Because there were lots of time, because that was just a common thing. Like I had to be, just like I said, times where I'd just be working 3 months straight and then I'd be off for 3 months. So like it was a lot of back and forth. And then maybe during those 3 months off, like maybe I get 1 or 2 working days. So it's like I still had a little bit of income, but not like enough to keep me like going towards the goals of, oh, I wanted to travel somewhere. So it just made it very difficult. And then I was just like, okay, well, there's got to be more to it. And like I had a friendship with someone and it just, we got very close and then it just got really bad. Like just things just didn't really work out very well, that it eventually just broke. Like it put me into a even, worse spot. And that's where it really kind of transformed it and like elevated everything in the film industry was just like, I can't do this. Like I was just at a heightened experience of all my emotions were heightened because even with that friendship, like it was also part of the film industry. Like I was in the film industry. They were in the film industry. We got very close because of our passion and like love of film. And even I was starting to tell them, I'm like, I can't, this isn't what I want to do anymore. Like, I don't want to just be working 5 days a week, working in this industry and not seeing anything come of it. So it was just, it just turned into that heightened everything. And I started learning more about the online space, started getting into a deeper dive of who I am, what I'm supposed to do. Even a deeper dive into like masculinity, because I just felt like I wasn't even a man at times. So it took me to a very like low point where I just was like, okay, I got to figure something else out. Like I love creating. Like I've always been a creative person. So that really took me to that spot of like, okay, I need to switch this up. I need to find something else. So I started looking, and being online, you start trying to like, you search up how do I make money online? Like it's like the most common thing.
How to make a month.
Yeah, exactly. So I could try getting into sales, but like the whole time, like when I started looking into making the switch, I was like, you know what? I'm very interested in content creation. So I have a filmmaking background. I like making videos. I made videos when I was a kid. I've been doing this. I've been editing. I've been doing all this stuff for so long. Why not do it? So I was like, okay, I made a video. And I posted it. It was like this fun little thing. I basically was like meal prepping. So I recorded myself like meal prepping and putting the food away, and did like a welcome to the channel video. Mm-hmm. So I was like, cool. And then months go by. I don't upload or don't do anything. I don't keep up with it. Like at the time I was like, okay, I really like the idea. I have some cool ideas. I wanted to tell stories of like working in the film industry and doing a bunch of videos like that. And I just never did. And I just couldn't keep up, didn't make them, because then I got distracted and brought into high ticket sales and was getting really into high ticket sales and was spending 10 hours a day making phone calls trying to do high ticket sales. So like, and I was like, okay, well, when it all works out and then I'll come back. Like when I first sort out this, I need to make money because I'm not working right now. My film industry right now is falling apart. Like so it turned into my full-time gig trying to do high ticket. And it just wasn't working. I was struggling a lot to try and, I was just overthinking the whole process and these calls, and I was just doing so many hours and reps of it and just not seeing any results from it, and was just constantly struggling with it. And it sent me to a point where I had to move. I had to leave where I was living. I had to move back in with my family, and it just, financially ruined me, unfortunately. And so when I moved back in, I had to go sort out all my debt, was trying to get back out of debt. So I started working on paying things off, finding another job. And then I started really getting into AI, and AI really kind of sparked this creative area. And I really got into all the AI videos and short form content. So I was like making, like, I did a little bit of like AI history type thing, But most lately, like I was really interested in like okay, let's do like something what to do with masculinity. So I was
Okay.
following that a lot. I was making a lot of content related with that, and I was using ChatGPT to generate all of my scripts, and then getting a bunch of images, and it just continued to spark and spark. And I had just so many different ideas, and I just kept making content. The short form content, got back into editing again,
Mm-hmm.
like seriously getting back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Where I did a 30-day challenge of posting every day, making content every day, and doing it all through AI. And I was just like, this is fun. I like doing this, and just kept going and going and going. And like then like I got sick during it, and and that really, like, when I get sick, it's so normal for me to just be like, hey, I'm sick. I'm shutting everything down. I'm not doing anything. Like, it's just do the least amount of work possible, like, and try to recover. But I've realized it's a mindset a little bit, but I've also realized it's something I've done my entire life. Anytime I've been sick, it's turn on the TV, play video games. Like, it's
Right.
those two things, or whichever. And that's all I do all day when I'm sick. So I've automatically stopped myself from doing anything productive, trying to quote unquote heal myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is like a level of like, you shouldn't go too extreme because you're sick. You need to heal, but like,
Right.
it's just, that's, instead of me sleeping, I watch TV and play video games. Sleeping would have actually solved the problem instead
Yeah.
of me laying down on a couch all day.
Interesting.
So like, I've kind of, and this is more of a recent realization, because I was sick again, and I was just like, I'm not doing anything again, and all I'm doing is watching TV and playing video games.
Right.
Like, it's just a common thing.
Mm.
And so, but through that, I actually pushed through. When I was doing the challenge, I pushed through. I'm like, I got to make something, even though I actually did a day where I did sleep, and then I woke up. I'm like, okay, the day's still here. Okay, I'm gonna try and figure out how to make a video. I don't care how sick I am. I was doing it all on my phone anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm on my phone, I'm in my bed. Why not? Like, so I
Right.
actually kept making them. They weren't as like good. Like, I started like suffering a little bit from like the quality. I was doing like the videos I was doing before I was sick, but I just like, I can't stop. I said I was going to hit these 30 days. Like, there was a little bit of like a cash prize for this challenge, not massive, but it was like, why not? Like, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And I hit the 30 days. And
Nice.
I actually did over those 30 days anyways, because like I had started making content daily
Mhm.
before the challenge,
On
but
Instagram or YouTube?
it was Instagram,
Oh,
Twitter, and YouTube.
okay.
I The one area I didn't do is like, I still posted daily, but I didn't post daily on all the same channels. So I didn't do it all on all the platforms. Part of it was sickness and like trying to like switch and try and keep up with that. Like, my head just couldn't keep up with that sort of thing, just because I was so fogged and like sick from it. But it was just like, I kept going.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I kept like thinking, oh, this video is going to pop off. Like, I put a lot of effort in some of them. And that was kind of a big thing too. Like, I just did a lot of work into it. And, you know, actually, I had the person I was running the community for, Johnny Chaplin. That's how he kind of like noticed me, was just because of like my quality of editing, and like how frequently he was like kind of like,
Like
blown away
he
by
found
it.
your content?
Pardon?
He found your content? Like,
So I was in his community on Discord, so we were sharing it. I was sharing this daily. So he had this 30-day challenge
oh, okay.
last year, and that's how because I was posting regularly and kept sharing it, even when I was sick, I was like, I'm still doing this. Like, he just noticed that work, and that's kind of how I kind of got in with him and started like communicating with him, and getting to a point where I actually approached him about running the community. So that was kind of a fun way to keep going
Mm-hmm.
and building from that. So it's that's really where it kind of blew up. And then going from all that, I kept going. Like, I kept always trying to find what's a better way for me to make these videos. And I was always, from the filmmaking experience, from like screenwriting and making movies, I've always liked stories. So I was constantly trying to like implement story. So I had this really big idea of like doing AI generated movies, but like going into it from a standpoint of like shorts and telling a quick story. So like, I was always trying to find new ways to like make the content better. So I
Mhm.
went from just doing it all through CapCut to then, okay, how can I like tear apart this image and make it 3D and make a
Right.
3D space out of it? And like I went into and learning went back into learning After Effects and using After Effects to help animate and make animations in the videos. So I just went like I definitely, when I was making the content, I went above and beyond, like, and trying to like make these things like the best things possible, like in the way I thought would be a good idea. So like I had really well made pieces of content that no one's ever seen.
Wow.
And like it just never hit the algorithm at any point. Like none of the videos just like would blow
Bro,
up, which was really interesting
why do
because
you
I
think
was
that,
like,
though?
part of it is I was doing niches that are very not as relevant. Like it just wasn't as relevant anymore. And like it's not like anyone was learning anything new. So, and I wasn't targeting people properly. Like I didn't really have a niche that I was like full on. I knew enough about the niche. I'd put research into it. Like I didn't know anything. I just made the video for fun and posted it. That was kind of really it. Like it was, I put a lot of work in making it. I just didn't put a lot of work into the content itself.
Right.
So there wasn't really a lot of like any value, I would say, in how I kind of made it.
Mhm. Interesting. All right. So like, so yeah, we got into like how you from film industry to content creation and all that. So right now, currently, you do what do you call it? You have your own like YouTube channel, Creator Collective. But then I know off camera we kind of talked about how you're kind
Yeah.
of making another transition. Like, what is
Yeah.
the kind of like the state of Creator Collective? Like, where do you see
Yeah.
yourself going with it, and what's like kind of like what's like
I'm
if you're willing to share that, what's the game plan?
Yeah. Well, right now, at least for the Creative Collective podcast, it's in a part of it was the community I was in, we kind of fell apart in like being an active community. We recently it started picking up again.
Okay.
Um, Part of it was me personally in my life, like my personal life outside of like the podcast. Like
Mhm.
I was just working a 9 to 5 that I was absolutely hating again.
Oh,
So I was just, but it was taking up so much of my time
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like I was just working and I was working in restoration essentially. So
Mhm.
there'd be a lot of overtime again. So kind of similar to what I was doing in the film industry, there's a lot of overtime and then there was a lot of travel time. And then I was also working out at the gym. So it was just like a big mixture of my time right now was at that time was just so spread out and unfulfilling
Mhm.
because I was working a job I was hating, I wasn't liking it, I wasn't enjoying it, it wasn't challenging me in the way I wanted to be challenged.
Right.
It wasn't putting me in a spot to like actually make me think of what I was doing. It was just another labor intense job. I need to do this or do that.
Right.
So that's kind of affected the podcast as well because I personally just wasn't in a good space. So I wasn't even doing the work to try and find other people to bring on, but I also just wasn't meeting people really. So like my whole community was where I was meeting people and I was trying to get people from my community onto the podcast. That was the whole idea of why
Right.
I started it
Right.
was people in our community are the people we're inviting and
Right.
talking and having conversations
Right.
about content creation, TikTok, the different states. So like some of the people in the community really put in a lot of work to help me out, which was super helpful. But then
Mhm.
there was a couple people who, you know, they weren't as professional. So like I had invited someone to come onto the podcast the first time, and they just didn't tell me that they couldn't make it. So like I was all ready to do the episode to find out this person's not showing up to now I had to do an episode all by myself. And that wasn't how I structured the podcast. That's not how I was thinking about it. It's not what I wanted to do with
Mhm.
it because the whole idea was it was never supposed to be about myself. I didn't want to be like just telling people about my story because that's
Mhm.
not why I started it.
Right. Right.
So and having to do that, be by myself on a podcast episode, I hated the experience and didn't enjoy that I had to I had to come up with something completely on the spot about
Mhm.
what I wanted to kind of talk about.
Right.
And basically I had to introduce myself is kind of how I did it. This is the introduction.
Yeah.
And that kind of just took away from the whole idea of why I created it.
Mhm.
I Then I tried to reschedule, do another week, and this person an hour after the scheduled time tells me they couldn't make it and something had happened. And I was just like, okay, this is two times you haven't given me the courtesy to let me know prior to when I've told you something that
Trust me,
like
I feel what you're saying, man. I've been there.
yeah, because it's like I'm putting like I'm a busy guy too. Like maybe I
Mhm.
wasn't as busy, but like I understand people are busy.
Right.
But if we're choosing to do something or collaborating together, we need to communicate. Sorry, I can't make it. Let me know. Like it's a lot easier to be forgiving when you
Mhm.
don't do something and like you let me know because then it's like okay, now I have to figure out a solution. But when it's like I'm telling people we're doing it this at this time, doing it
Right.
right here. This is the who's coming, and then I'm being told and so I'm sitting there waiting and waiting, and now I'm sitting there awkwardly, like, where is this guy? Like, where is this person?
Yeah.
And so I never asked again. I stopped. I'm like, if he wants to come on, he can approach me at this point. So
Facts.
I had a couple other people, you yourself and one other person that I did, and I was basically trying to create a little bit of a backlog. And then I
Mhm.
just got so busy with other like my 9 to 5 just was taking over my whole mindset. So I just couldn't keep up with working towards something when I wasn't even thinking properly. And so now of course, like I said, I work at a gym and I couldn't be happier. Like it's actually something that does challenge me. It's very interesting. I get to talk with new people and help
Mhm.
them understand why they need to either come into the gym or why our gym's a good spot for them to come to or they just come in and sign up and it's really easy.
Mhm.
Like it's a good mixture of everything
Right.
and it's a lot, but I really do enjoy it and it's a lot of fun because I get to meet new people. And that's kind of where now it's led me to meet someone who's come in and signed up and joined the gym, who's then approached me and asked me, "Hey, do you want to help me do YouTube?" Like it, but like so, like simply, casually, quickly. Like I've met this person 4 days ago, and they were asking me to do a YouTube channel with them, and
Mhm.
like that's pretty cool. But it's also but it's like, okay, now I'm in a position where I'm actually getting to meet more people so I can kind of go back into, oh, well, how about I continue the podcast? How about I bring more people on, start doing more in person, things like that. So that's kind of where it's really led to now and how I'm wanting to create content is like I have more the space of who's working with me is growing. So there's more people to collaborate with. I'm meeting new people. There's more opportunities. Like if anyone goes and looks up the gym I go to, it's a very big like influencer space. Like
That's sick. That's
that
sick.
we kind of promote like it's very kind of promoted in that way because there's a lot of people like constantly that our Instagram stories regularly are sharing other people's like taking poses in our posing room and posting it online. We constantly like we have an in-house videographer, like a bunch of in-house videographers that make like high quality videos that are going on to these reels that they're posting daily. So they they do a good job of it too. Like and there's a lot of different like big people who are in the fitness niche that are making content and doing very well for themselves just from being and using our gym. And that's what's the coolest part of it.
What gym is this called, if you don't mind me asking?
It's called Aesthetics Nation Gym. We just did a big rebrand and changed the name. Originally, we were called Iron Energy.
Okay.
Yeah. We got like it's got like 16,000 followers on Instagram, but
Mhm.
our owners have like I think one of our owners has 150,000 followers and the
Wow.
other owner has about 300,000.
Wow.
Yeah. They and that they're kind of like yeah they're very interesting people. I haven't gotten to like communicate too much with them, but I'm glad that where I work is also a space for opportunity. Like I feel the opportunities are more than when I was working in restoration not that long ago.
Wasn't really much opportunity in that space.
Yeah, like I just wasn't meeting people who, actually have goals and like ambitions. Like all the people I was working with in that industry, they just wanted to keep working there. Like some of them had been there working there for 30 years. And like, and I'm just like this young guy who just does not like, I just didn't fit in. Like I just couldn't, I just did not like working. I mentally prepared myself to hate my job essentially. And that was very interesting.
So like my other question is like, so basically it was like, so now you're kind of like, so right now you're kind of like in a networking phase, like trying to invite more people for Creator Collective and stuff like,
Yeah.
and now and I'm guessing right now you're kind of trying to brainstorm and pursue this new business venture with
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm definitely going to be like after this podcast, a meeting with the guy, and we're going to be I'm going to work with him, and we're going to try and I want to work together and build a strategy um that will really kind of like make it unique. And that's my big thing now is like kind of I'm trying to get away from copying. I've never been the type I've one of the biggest things that I disliked about TikTok was copying. I've always wanted to like, and I even, this is actually something I said on the Creator Collective podcast with Johnny was you can't always copy people. And, but what was really interesting was I started kind of going more into learning about content creation through, Michael Drift, if anyone knows who that guy is. He basically started he made a video called the brainwashing cult of brainwashing cult of Hamza or something, or Hamza like
Yeah,
yeah.
I actually like Hamza though.
Oh yeah, no,
I do think his audience like over. I think his advice is good, but I think that people treat him like he's a god.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I feel like you should like obviously like he has some good advice, but
Mm-hmm.
you should also some of it is like, how do I say it? You have to think for yourself, like what makes sense for you. You know?
Yeah. That is a big thing too.
Yeah.
And I totally agree because I feel that same way.
Yeah.
Like I do like Hamza's advice, but it is very easy to just fall into the process of, thinking that this person is a god.
Yeah.
It is, and you know what?
Sections you'll see these guys go be like, whatever, because like he's a human being, and if you follow the content, he's constantly changing his opinions and stuff, which is normal. Like he's human, and people are attacking him, saying like, you don't think you're supposed to like it's hard for me to blindly follow, and I'm thinking you're not supposed to blindly follow.
You're not, and that's it. This is why I can follow the concept that Michael Drift teaches. He actually teaches this in his course. But it's called compete over copy. So instead of copying people, it's competing.
Right.
And it's honestly, when I like it's such a like it changes, like it fits what I already believe. Like that's the big thing. It already fits what I already believe. But that's why, like, even with like this other guy that I'm doing, he's approached me like we want to do YouTube together. That's my perspective of like we have to compete, not copy. We have to stand out. We have to have something that makes us different and unique while being in the niche. That, and being able to be ahead of the game too in some cases. So it's such an interesting perspective because it's so easy to copy. I believe what's great about copying is it's a good way to learn, but it's not the right way to go forever. You have to adapt. And that's always been the way I go about it is, okay, I have to adapt. And like throughout my entire life, I've always had to adapt. It's the most human thing we have to do is to adapt to situations. Some of us don't, kind of get stuck in it. And I've been stuck there too. And it comes back. It's a thing you always have to fight in some cases. But adapting is always a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think what was I gonna say? I had to do with adapting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
almost lost my train of thought. Yeah, with like content creation. Yeah, like I think in the short term, like I don't like copying. I feel like I'm okay with copying, but like put your own spin onto it. Like it shouldn't be
Hmm.
like word for bar, right? But I think
Yeah.
it's okay to take inspiration, but
Yes.
eventually you need as a content creator, you need to have that like that it factor that like that people know you by. Like for example, I'll use Hamza for an example. The reason why
Hmm.
he's blown up is the guy in a bathrobe talking about who's doing that was something new, right? That was
Yeah.
something that no one else was doing, right? Like
And
I feel
that's
like
why he
yeah.
that's exactly why he blew up. He it was like his parasocial connection with you as a viewer was
Yeah.
so like having a conversation. It was
Yeah.
literally like, hey bro, let's sit down together. I'm going to tell you how fucking things work.
Yeah.
And you're just going to sit there and listen to me, and you're
Uh,
going to take it in, and at the end you're going to, your life's going to change.
mhm,
And that's exactly how you feel watching Hamza's content.
mhm.
Is older brother sits you down, tells you how it is, and you honestly feel good about it, which is kind of the wild part of it. So it is so cool, so interesting in that kind of realm.
Hold on, we got a comment. It says Kai Cenat as a streamer is going wild right now.
No idea who that is.
Really?
Yeah, or is that like Kai? Like, no, I'm thinking someone else. KSI. I think that's why I'm thinking Kai. I have
He's
no idea.
not quite like KSI, but he's like a
Yeah.
streamer. Have you heard of? I don't know. He's like he's kind of a big. He's in the. I don't know if you follow streamers. Like he's kind of like Aiden Ross. You've heard of?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
He's
I
kind of
don't
like
really
that.
follow that stuff. I
Fair.
like honestly, like Aiden Ross and like the last big person who was like going crazy was like Neon or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah, he's like them. He's literally like
yeah,
them.
okay, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that stuff, yeah, is not for me. I can't even stand to stomach it. I don't really watch that sort of streams. In all honesty,
Yeah,
it's like actually I was at work and someone was playing an Aiden Ross and Andrew Tate like topic, and I'm just like, okay, I don't like listening to Aiden Ross. I don't like to listen to those sorts of people. They're just annoying.
yeah.
I don't get any value out of it. They just waste my time. So I don't waste my time with it.
I know. I totally agree. Like I'll see it on TikTok and Instagram sometimes, and I'll think it's funny, whatever. But I'm not gonna spend like an hour watching this stream. Like
Oh yeah.
I just have better things. Like I'd rather watch like an actual like a podcast that has value. They're
Yeah,
saying they're commenting. I hate Aiden Ross and
that's
Tate
and
too.
Tate too. You know what? It's all an act sometimes. So I don't really like it's whatever. I don't really care. It's that's just not my life. I'm not in it anymore. There
Mhm.
was a point where I was, but now I'm not. Like it's I opened my experience of what I watch. There's so many people out there that I've been really watching recently that are just really I find them just really interesting people.
Mhm.
Like the healthy gamer, if you've heard of him,
Okay.
he's been getting pretty popular lately. He was recently on the Diary of a CEO podcast.
Okay.
Not I think it's been a couple weeks since but yeah, he's like a psychologist, like a psychiatrist, and he like also was a monk or something at one point.
Wow.
So like very interesting perspective of like your inner self and like who you are and what's going on, and like a lot of like psychology level
Healthy
stuff.
gamer.
Yeah, the healthy, I think, yeah, healthy gamer, like gamer GG or something.
I'm almost.
Um,
Oh, that sounds really
yeah.
interesting.
So, and like and then there's another one that I've been going through. It's called actualization.org.
Mm.
It has like 2-hour episodes.
Of like talking about self
Like
actualization and
yeah, self-actualization, ego, psychology,
yeah,
like
that's like
just
my major, so I'm like pretty familiar with.
oh yeah. I've been going really into psychology recently. I'm falling in love with it. And especially ego. Ego's been a
Mhm.
big intrigue recently as well. So it's fun. It's actually really cool. But yeah, because of that, that's kind of why I've gone down a little bit about that rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah. It's just because I feel like a lot of the with the self improvement sector, a lot of it has become like more entertainment now because you see Tate, he's hanging out with guys like
Yeah.
Aiden, and I even saw like he was saying stuff like, "Oh, I don't care about Aiden anymore. I was just using him as a way to spread self improvement
Yeah.
and stuff." But I don't
Y-
know.
It's 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 all I there's a lot of it is I have no idea what it is, but I my opinion of it is okay, this guy's playing a character, and if this character is there's another character to it who actually like there who knows what's actually going on.
Yeah,
We don't we're not living there. We only see part of it. Like, don't get me, I'm pretty sure like doesn't Aiden Ross like just do full on like 24-hour live stream sometimes? Like it just that's what it seems like.
yeah. I'm
Um
pretty sure he does do 24-hour live stream.
Yeah, that's a little different. He's probably not as acting
Yeah,
in some cases for that because if you're doing 24-hour live, like I can't even like that just seems like the worst way to live life, just
I
having
know.
a camera constantly on. Um, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? One of the things I've always looked at too, it's like you kind of well, not always, but self-improvement as a niche, it's very common to like look at it from a standpoint of the what's it called? The Fight Club effect, where in Fight Club they kind of like talk about how like self-help and um self-improvement is just mental masturbation.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing with the whole self improvement space. I feel like people they tend to like they'll consume self improvement content, but like it's just like that dopamine hit, but then they're
Yeah.
not actually like applying the actual like knowledge.
But there's also the process of like what I've also realized is it doesn't happen same day. A lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
things
No, no,
just
no, yeah,
don't happen the same day. So it makes sense that even though it is a slow process, yes, people can just get stuck in the loop. And that's
yeah.
just the entire loop and they don't leave that. But then there is a way to you do kind of transcend it. You move into the next thing. You actually start taking action and doing the things that is in that. And it can actually help you. And that's what I really like about it. I like about self-improvement is it does have that. It does you are able to transcend just learning and consuming it.
Hmm.
So like there it's we're way too complex. Human beings are way too complex to really be like, oh yeah, they just automatically they're going to start doing and taking action. No, like everything takes time. It's a
Yeah,
thing that builds. Like a easy way to put it too is if you look at it, like, have you ever seen the movie Inception?
heard of it, but not never
Yeah.
seen.
Okay, so essentially what that whole movie is about is it's a heist movie about going into this guy's mind to plant an idea that is his own idea. So when they leave his mind, it's his idea. So
Hmm.
that's the whole movie, like basic level concept. And then each time they go into a lower level of like the subconscious, it gets tougher and tougher. But it's like when you say like that idea gets stronger and stronger the further you go down. They go down in this movie. And that's what's really interesting about it is like if you look at it from that standpoint of if you have an idea or something that it starts at a surface level, but then it goes deeper and then deeper and then deeper and then deeper. And then when it's finally at that like true deep stage, that's where it's going to start actually, you're going to start acting on it because it's
Hmm.
made it that far. But if it
Right,
hasn't made it that far, what's going to make it take action?
right.
Like, not like there's people out there who they're not going to even take action on taking self-improvement because they don't even understand it. And it's not even something that
Care about,
it's not
yeah.
even a concept they understand.
Right.
They don't even think about it. And that's why it's so common too in self-improvement to say you don't tell your friends to get onto self-improvement because they're not ready for it. They cannot comprehend it because
Yeah.
there's probably a point that ourselves, like for me, there's probably a point where someone might try to tell me, but I was like, nah. Like I remember when I was in high school, like in middle school, I hated it working out and doing like gym stuff and like lifting weights. Now I love it. Like it's like at that time, I tried to do it, but I couldn't stay consistent. I truly couldn't. I was never thinking about it. I never looked at it from a standpoint of, oh, it makes me healthier, or oh, it does this. Oh, I look better. Like that
Mhm.
wasn't a concept or an understanding I had at the time, and I couldn't even think of that.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like why I look at it. It's like, yes, it is, but you need something to then have it sink lower, lower, and lower and get to that level.
So, do you see a connection between self-improvement and religion?
Should I answer that or?
I mean, I mean, that's a hard question, honestly. Like, I think there is like a little bit, maybe a little bit of a connection, because I guess like I actually don't really have an answer. That's a very
I'll give my 2 cents on this
sure, yeah.
because I am not a religious person. In all honesty, I am the furthest thing from being a religious person. Recently, I did go down a path of like learning more about Islam,
Hmm.
but I never like stuck to it.
Right.
I understand it since I was learning about ego recently.
Right.
I have an understanding of I question everything, like question things a little bit more. So I question religion and its tactics.
Hmm.
So I find there is a connection between the two because there are a lot of people who are on self improvement who are also religious.
Right.
It's very common. There is a little bit of a connection there.
Okay.
Like, so I see how that is there, but I also see it from a standpoint of I question what religion tells you. I've actually gotten to the point where I'm trying to even question my own reality
Right.
of like what is actually real. Like,
Right.
I do I actually know what if this microphone's real, or is it my perception of everything I've gone through that thinks that this is real because I constructed that reality?
Hmm.
I Because that's what we had to do. We all had to construct it. And from what I've learned too about like even religion, like if you grew up with religion, it's a lot easier for you to follow religious beliefs because that's all you understand and know. So
Hmm.
before you start if you're not questioning it, then why would you look at the other aspects when you now see it as, no, I grew up with this. I know this as truth, and this is what I believe is true. So how can then there's someone who's, opposing that truth that you believe is true. You're going to fight the other person to continue your belief, or you won't fight it, or you will, but then you might change your mind. Like it's very interesting how like self-improvement, like they can work well together too.
Yeah.
Like you can it gives you what I really like about self-improvement and religion is if you put a religious aspect into it, is you can now look at there's someone above me, and if I don't achieve this,
Right.
not only for myself, but I'm also achieving it for God, Allah, or whatever religion you might follow.
Hmm.
To me, there's so many different ones. One can't be right. I think there are ones that, there's right things about it,
Hmm.
but there's too many different perspectives in the world. There's too many people. Uh, so that's at least the way my 2 cents on that.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, like they definitely they can go together really well because like it becomes more because then it doesn't become just about you. Like self
Yeah.
improvement doesn't become more about you. It's about um pleasing this like higher power.
Hmm.
I want to double back on what you call it. Yeah, like talking about self improvement to like people who aren't on it. Like I it's funny because like me personally, I'm a Christian, right? And
Yeah.
I was at church like this morning, and I had this conversation ironically with someone at my church. Because we were talking about like gym, because there's a gym goer too,
Hmm.
and we're talking about like how like I don't know when you talk to like normal people, like when I say normal people, like people who are not on self improvement, they don't go to the gym and stuff. When you talk to like people like that
Hmm.
about self improvement, they kind of look at you like weird, and sometimes you get into like weird kind of like debates with them and stuff, and then he
Hmm.
was kind of telling me like, yeah, don't even Like he said, I'll normally talk about like stuff in terms of like gym or self improvement if they ask me about it, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to bring it up because like you said, they're not going to understand it. Like they don't
Hmm.
comprehend it, so it's like
Yeah.
it's just a waste of time because you just get into
Yeah.
pointless arguments sometimes.
Yeah. And like again, that's why I say we as human beings are very complex. We like to simplify things too. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people who like to just, we got to make this simple.
yeah,
But as human beings, we're not simple. We never have been. But there's a lot of things that we've crafted in to create a reality for that makes things simple. Like what was really interesting is like going through. So I was like the reason why I understand it from this standpoint is I was going through this topic through actualization.org. He was
mhm,
literally and talking about ego, and he was talking about fundamentalists of certain religions, of like Christianity and Islam. So if you are a fundamentalist, like just you're basically you follow all the rules, you do it on a regular basis, you pray
mhm,
every day, you do your 5 prayers if you're as a Muslim, and you believe everything in that book, and
mhm,
you take it as the religious text as a the truth, like everything of it is true.
mhm,
But he said it's like, what if it wasn't like something he said was, what if like hell, the way they described hell isn't actually what it is, but it's a metaphor of what it is. And that kind of was like, oh, so like what is being said isn't just an actual thing, it's a
mhm.
metaphor of what it would be like, so we understand what it could be like.
Or it could be okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of another level into it. So, but like at a fundamentalist stage, when you believe everything on that word for word, you're not going to question it. You're not going to even comprehend or even think, oh, what if it was a metaphor? No, hell is a fiery place. It becomes an absolute truth compared to, oh, it couldn't, like, there could be, it's what it seems like, or that was the way we can understand it.
Mhm,
And it's also interesting when you go into it from a standpoint of storytelling,
mhm.
because there's so many stories and we are able to like feel and get into those stories more.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. Like it's really interesting. Like I guess we all have like different like point of views when it comes to like religion and stuff like
Mhm,
that. And like yeah, it's definitely interesting because like a lot of people like there's like a lot of different religions and stuff. And like I
mhm,
feel like that's another thing too. Like to be able to question like I feel like it's okay to be able to like question things because I it's like goes back to that whole thing we were talking about like blindly following, right? Like I
mhm.
think you should be able to question things. So then, because I think through questioning things, you start to it brings you closer to the truth, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And I have for me, I actually deeply respect people of religion.
Mhm,
I want to make that clear because I think there is a very beautiful thing about religion that, you know, not being religious doesn't have, like, in all honesty. There's something there's this inherent beauty with religion. What I
mhm.
also really think is good too is if you question your religion, it can also bring you closer to
Yeah,
that religion.
yeah,
Like, and it's not that it's making you more a fundamentalist. It actually expands you and takes you further. And that's what I really like about these videos about ego.
mhm.
It's not just taking it for its word. It's also understanding it from a level of understanding it from a level that's higher. That's not just okay. It's not as simple as uh, I do I do a sin, I'm like the worst person in the world. It's okay, I'm going to make like sin's normal. It's going to happen. I have to, but at the same time, I can't beat myself down from it. I'll take it as how do I move on from it
Right.
and use it as a learning experience
Mm.
so I don't make the same mistake next
Like,
time.
right.
Or you can look, but there can also be the standpoint of, or you just focus on that you made it, and then your life becomes like, I made this. I'm never gonna like
Mhm.
there's so many different ways of looking and diving into it. From it can be a very simplistic way, but then it can become a very complex understanding.
100%, 100%. I want to switch gears a little bit here because I know you have to go pretty soon. But I
Yeah.
want to, before we end up, I wanted to talk about like switch gears back into content creation. Have you heard? Are you familiar with like the TikTok ban?
I heard that it's starting to kind of become a closer to a reality where, yeah, TikTok could be
Yeah.
adios in the United States.
And with
I haven't.
Canada,
Oh, Canada too. I haven't. I didn't hear that part, but like I heard
I
like
just assumed that we'd follow after them.
probably, yeah,
Yeah.
Canada. Like since we don't even have the creator beta program in
Yeah,
Canada.
we didn't even get that. So it's like, you
Yeah,
know,
like it'll be really interesting. In all honesty, uh, I also from my standpoint is I've realized there's so much more to this world that I do not understand, that I cannot even comprehend. So I can't even be like, so whatever is happening, it's from a perspective I don't even know what's happening. And it's
mhm,
not because I'm like I wouldn't say it's because I'm ignorant because I'm not following it.
mhm,
Like I'm not following it too, but it's I don't understand it. It's not how I see things in a sense.
okay.
And I think one of the biggest reasons like for it isn't it because like China, like there's a company in China that owns it and that's why they're trying to ban it or something like that.
Yeah, so basically, I'm not an expert either, but from what I've heard, is apparently so. I guess it was made by like a Chinese company and stuff, and I guess they're afraid that TikTok is stealing
Yeah.
information from like Americans or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but like that's from what I know. Like it's like they're basically trying to protect the information, and they feel like it's like a
Yeah.
breach of like privacy. But then there's so many people talking about it where there's some people who are saying like, oh, it's all a distraction, it's a conspiracy because then they're saying something about what were they saying? They're saying that
They want to be in control of it themselves.
yeah, or like Meta is gonna take over like Facebook,
Yeah.
like that's yeah. To me, honestly, the way I see all of this, I'm like I kind of think it's a good thing
Hmm.
TikTok is being banned because I feel like it just as a content creator, it's just more opportunity because like I feel like eyeballs got to go somewhere, right? So
Oh yeah.
it just creates an
It's
opportunity. I
it
think.
yeah, it would create an opportunity for people to switch from it, and someone might try to recreate it.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
think Rumble
think
might buy it too.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like there's yeah, there's so many different ways of going about it. And, that's why I also put, the perspective of it is there's so many things we can't even come up with or even think of why something is happening.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would definitely push people to IG Reels and YouTube Shorts. I'm reading that comment. But like the
Mhm.
perspective, like even like in a place of business where like there's just so many things you might not even be able to comprehend or even come up with. Like even if you look at it from the standpoint of let's go looking at a human being from 500 years ago, they could never comprehend or even understand what a camera or a podcast is.
Yeah.
Like they can't. It's just not real.
Mhm.
It's not even a thought in their mind.
Right.
Where that's kind of the same thing of like there's so many things that are happening, there's so many different people, there's so many different perspectives, there's so many different life experiences. You're never going to truly understand or comprehend everything.
Yeah.
So I apparently I'm in a higher stage of ego development because of
This guy's like he
according to
transcended it
the
all.
yeah, I'm not completely transcendent, but I question things. I'm questioning my reality right now. That's good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, tearing down my reality and kind of guessing like, what is this real? Is this actually real, or did I make this up to be real?
Mhm.
And our minds are very good at making things seem real but not.
But not real.
It's very good at tricking ourselves, and that's a big thing too.
When you talk about ego, like is it like because like from what I like studied in like psychology and stuff, like ego is kind of like the what do you call it? Like there's like you're familiar with the id and the superego?
No, I'm not too familiar with that. So the ego I've been learning,
Yeah,
it's called something else. I'm gonna pull it up because I have it on my phone because I keep telling people about it. But it breaks it down in different stages. What was really interesting is like we're also in multiple stages at once too. So we're not always in only one stage. Like we still have the different stages. So it's called Ego Development Theory by Suzanne Cook Greeter.
okay.
Maybe you've heard of it. But essentially, what it was really interesting about it, what I really liked about it was it breaks it down into 3 core group stages.
Okay.
And then inside each group has different stages from when you start to where it goes. So it's about the development of ego. And that's kind of like where I'm looking at it from. So not so much from it and super ego type stuff. It's more about like how our egos developed. So what was really interesting is there's like a pre conventional stage, a
Okay. Okay. I've heard of it.
conventional stage, a post conventional stage, and then a transcendent stage. So the pre conventional being trying to like remember, like it's very like primitive, very basic. So I can't remember the first one. Maybe this thing actually says it, but like it's before you become like self-aware, essentially. Before we like when we're a kid, like we're not
Right.
self-aware of what's happening around us. We just see everything as it is and don't know anything about it or understand it, type thing. Oh, what happened to your camera there, Don? There you go. The second stage was now you're self-conscious. You know of yourself. You know that you exist, but now it's all about me. How do I get what I want?
Hmm.
So I want mommy's milk. I want this toy. I want that. It's all
This is
about
good.
me.
I have a test on this coming up. Yeah.
And then like the next stage was a little bit more. I think it had to do more with. It's almost like a rebellious stage where you're kind of more. Oh, you're telling me that I have to do that? No, 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 no. I'm not doing that. Or like you're not like you don't conform or follow the rules type thing. And I know there's a lot of people who stay in that stage
Mm.
regularly.
So
Um,
I think they stay in the conventional stage. They don't move on to what do you call it? Because we talked about pre-conventional, which is the you're not aware of like being kind of like
yeah.
conscious, and then conventional is like okay, I'm aware of my emotions and stuff, and
Yeah, like conventional is more like you're aware of your actions and like there's a bunch of different like subcategories in it essentially.
hmm.
So like the subcategories were really interesting too. So like the conventional stage was like conformist, conscious slash expert, and like an achiever stage. So
Mm.
I'm just like the thing that I'm looking at right now doesn't have like the pre on it for some reason, but it has the conventional stage. So like the conformist is like the most common one that you have in society where people are like they follow the laws, they follow the rules that, I go to my work, I work my job, I
Right.
do my 9 to 5. The expert stage is they're more likely to be leaders. They're going to be the people in the higher spot in working environments where they're the supervisors type thing.
Hmm.
Then the achiever stage, which is a common stage as well. I've been in that stage still as well. You're probably in that stage as well. Is you're trying to make money online. You're trying to like live bigger. You're trying to like, there's more to life, but you have goals, you have ambitions, you're wanting to go after it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
type
I'm in
thing.
that stage right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the post conventional stage was where I think I'm roughly at, kind of at, like I'm not completely at, but like starting,
Yeah.
which is the pluralist stage, which is more like you're now questioning the reality. So it's like you're not just trying to achieve, but like you're questioning, what is real. So like during the pre-conventional stage, you're creating your own reality. So for
Okay.
everything you see, because you've learned about you have yourself, you have your family, you have people who take care of you, you have what you want, you have your needs,
Hmm.
things like that. Then you were trying to go against the whole idea of like, I don't want to be part of that group.
Hmm.
I want to do my own thing, be
Hmm.
myself, to okay, if I be myself, I can cause problems.
Right.
I can get in a lot of trouble. I can
Right.
go to prison. So like it's just there's so many different parts to it, which is super interesting. But yeah, and then so that's where you kind of like develop your reality, at least from this standpoint, I think, or this how this model worked or something like that, which was really interesting. And then, but yeah, it's this pluralist stage is like you're starting to question how you came up with, what a sock is, how it works. Why do you think that's how it works?
Mhm.
Because, that's, that's what you crafted. You crafted that reality. It's like, oh, I see that it works like this. It does work like this. And I think it works like this because I've convinced myself it works like this.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so
see. So that's kind of like the pre-conventional, where it's like pre-conformist.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
pre-conformist.
Yeah. It's kind of
But
interesting. I feel like I was in that like conformist stage, probably around like the COVID lockdown stuff when
oh
they
yeah,
told
I was
can't do
definitely in
anything.
that stage too.
Yeah, and then during that whole experience actually brought me out of that where I was like, wait, why do I have to do this? Why do I think this way?
Yeah.
Why, what I mean? Started to question things, and then I guess that right now I'm in like the achiever stage where I
Hmm.
feel like I graduated conformist. I'm in like
Yeah.
achiever stage.
And the reason why I bring it up is like we still have conformity. Like
Yeah,
I'll still be a conformist, even though I'm questioning my reality. I'm still a conformist. I can still be an achiever. Like what I really like about what I was learning about psychology is the fact that you're not one level. You're multiple.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
in
yeah.
multiple stages,
Yeah,
and it's just all over the place. So
definitely, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, we need to do another one that's strictly on like psychology. That'd be interesting. Yeah,
I'm definitely down to do another one just strictly on psychology. Like
that'd be.
I'm loving learning about this stuff. It's so interesting, so
Oh
cool.
yeah, like human nature and stuff. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like I know you gotta go pretty soon because you're meeting your business partner
Yeah.
in a little bit here. So I'll just end it off. So just we'll end it off by saying like what like just tell people like where they can find you and
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Well, right now the best way to find me is probably, I don't know, Instagram. I have an Instagram. It's just
Mm.
create icy. It's me, it looks like me, but like as if I was a dragon kind of thing. Like a mixture. It looks weird. It's definitely an AI generated image. But or I think just create icy is also my YouTube channel at the moment. But if you wanted to message me, just create icy is the best way. I don't really post too much on it, but I might actually start posting a little bit more and try and have some like photos and stuff on there. Actually use Instagram for what Instagram's for.
Or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far in the video, and thanks to all the guys that are online right now. Make sure you guys like this up, like it up, like it up, like it. I see you guys watching. You guys hit that like button like right now. It's not that hard. If you're a true supporter, hit the like button right now. But yeah, make sure you go follow him up and stuff. And more videos to come, more podcasts to come. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.
Sweet.